You're tuning in to VNA News Daily Bulletin. I'm Bảo Trung from Hanoi, and coming up next, we have your top stories. The 9th National Patriotic Emulation Congress officially opens in Hanoi. President Trương Tấn Sang welcomes Governor of St. Petersburg, Georgy Potapchenko. Vietnam's export to Mexico hits record high in the past 10 years. The 9th National Patriotic Emulation Congress officially opened in Hanoi on December 7th with the theme Solidarity, Creativity and Emulation for National Construction and Protection.
The Congress brought together 1,800 exemplary individuals and representatives from outstanding units in patriotic emulation campaigns in all sectors and fields over the past 5 years since the previous Congress. Prime Minister Nguyễn Tấn Dũng, chairman of the Central Council for Emulation and Reward, highlighted the Congress as a significant political event of the whole party, people and army to honor role models in patriotic emulation movements across the country. He said the emulation campaigns have successfully exploited the concerted strength of the nation to realize development targets on socio-economic and cultural affairs, environment, defense, security, diplomacy, and international integration. Vice President Nguyễn Thị Doan, first Vice Chairwoman of the Central Council for Emulation and Reward, said positive changes in terms of both form and content have been made to emulation campaigns with more focus on pragmatic goals, helping to attract wider response from party organizations, authorities at all levels, and people from all walks of life. She stressed the need to continue and improve patriotic emulations in order to provide a real momentum for the cause of national development. Addressing the event, Party General Secretary Nguyễn Phú Trọng affirmed that over the past 5 years, patriotic emulation campaigns have made positive contributions to the country's achievements in all sectors. He emphasized that in the coming time, these campaigns should focus on encouraging the entire party, people and army to well perform the party's and state's guidelines and policies and build a stronger and more transparent party. The party chief added that the campaigns should also promote the nation's strength and socialist democracy and step up the renewal process and national protection.
State President Trương Tấn Sang hosted a reception in Hanoi on December 7th for Governor of the city of St. Petersburg, Georgy Potapchenko. More in the following report. Having underlined the traditional relationship between Vietnam and Russia, President Sang said the two countries already set up comprehensive strategic partnership with a high level of political trust. The president applauded St. Petersburg's economic strength as well as its efforts to promote cooperative ties with Ho Chi Minh City, Hanoi, and other localities of Vietnam. He stressed that as an economic, tourism, and cultural center of Russia, St. Petersburg should discuss ways to fully tap potentials in order to step up cooperation with its Vietnamese partners in accordance with the expectations of senior leaders of both nations. Governor Potapchenko also emphasized the time-honored relations between Russia and Vietnam, as well as between St. Petersburg and Vietnamese localities. He said this year marks the 10th anniversary of twin relationship between St. Petersburg and Ho Chi Minh City, so the delegation's ongoing visit aims to further boost economic ties between the two cities. Entrepreneurs joining the delegation will attend a business forum with their local counterparts to seek partnerships in the field of energy, high-tech industry, and healthcare. St. Petersburg also hopes to attract more visitors from Ho Chi Minh City. Minister of Agriculture and Rural Development Cao Đức Phát has requested relevant agencies to thoroughly study the U.S. regulations imposed on Vietnam's char and basa fish in order to ensure that the export of these products will continue. The task has been put forth in the wake of the U.S. Department of Agriculture's recent ruling that established an inspection program for fish, including Vietnam's char and basa fish. Between now and March 2nd, the Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Development will coordinate with the Vietnam Association of Seafood Exporters and Producers to send the U.S. a list of Vietnamese businesses who are keen to continue shipping char and basa fish to the market. At the same time, Vietnam will inform the U.S. about its legal system and state management over food safety in char and basa fish production and processing, as required by the U.S. side. Vietnam will have a transitional period of 18 months, starting from March 2016, during which the country has to prove that its char and basa fish production management system is similar to the U.S. During this time period, Vietnam must overhaul its production and quality inspection processes as demanded by the U.S. Relevant Vietnamese agencies have been urged to trace unsuitable and dissimilar regulations and adjust them. Char exports to the U.S. fell recently when businesses had to pay a high anti-dumping tax of nearly $1 per kilogram, causing difficulties for Vietnamese exporters and American importers. Vietnam's export turnover to Mexico reached nearly $1.3 billion in the first 10 months of 2015, the highest increase in the past 10 years.
The Trade Office of the Vietnamese Embassy in Mexico reported in the reviewed period, Vietnam imported over $401 million worth of products from the second largest Latin American country, up more than 95% against a year earlier. Total bilateral trade in the last 10 months reached nearly $1.7 billion, an increase of 57.02% year-on-year. Vietnam enjoyed a trade surplus of $891 million in the period, up 33.39% year-on-year. Vietnam's exports to Mexico is expected to hit $1.5 billion this year, a rise of nearly 45%. Its imports from the market is expected at $487 million, bringing two-way trade to $1.98 billion, 52.3% higher than 2014.
Experts say Vietnam's coffee industry should reform production and processing of coffee products to gain added value from those products.
Vietnam has produced a total output of 1.4 million tons of coffee every year, and 95 to 97% of the total output has been exported, but export value has not been high. The Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Development reported Vietnam has had a total area of 640,000 hectares under coffee, 7% higher than the development plan of 6,100 hectares in 2020. The ministry's plantation department said it has promoted the restructuring of coffee production to improve the quality of coffee and ensure its sustainable development. By this year's end, the Central Highland provinces will replace new coffee trees on a total area of 61,000 hectares. That would increase an area replacing new coffee trees to 77,000 hectares by 2020. To have sustainable development for the coffee industry in the long term, experts say farmers should implement the correct production processes to ensure high capacity and quality. Meanwhile, enterprises should promote building of a brand and increase processed products to gain higher export value. The Vietnam Coffee and Cacao Association reported at present Vietnam's instant coffee exports has increased sharply due to more investment in the coffee processing sector from local and foreign firms. Exports of the product reached 54,000 tons in volume in 2014. The export volume of instant coffee products were expected to gain a year-on-year increase of 25% this year.
The electricity supplied for production rose 8.78% year-on-year to nearly 61.73 billion kilowatts per hour in the first 11 months of this year. More details coming up next. The group said sufficient, stable and safe electricity was ensured during the period to serve national socio-economic development as well as cultural and political events, especially the freshly concluded 10th session of the 13th National Assembly. The power system is operating continuously and there is standby power, it added. Total commercial electricity output was estimated at 131.33 billion kilowatts per hour from January to November, a yearly increase of 11.73%. The EVN confirmed it will ensure sufficient electricity in December. The power system will make maximum use of hydropower reservoirs, as well as coal thermal power and gas turbine plants. According to research by the World Bank's Doing Business program, Vietnam's electricity access index in 2015 leaps 22 places against the previous year, putting the country at 108th place out of 189 global economies. The duration to supply electricity for customers is 59 days, better than that of Indonesia, Timor-Leste, Cambodia, Myanmar, and Laos. Patching up loopholes in the legal framework and providing necessary legal assistance to improve Vietnamese women's access to justice were the focus of discussions at a workshop in Hanoi on December 7th. Let's take a look. At the workshop, many delegates held that violence against women remains a big social issue in Vietnam. However, there are still no effective mechanisms to protect the rights and legitimate interests of victims, both legally and socially. Specifically, many women who are victims of domestic violence and sexual abuse have not been aware of their rights to legal assistance or have been hesitant to ask for help. In the law on legal aid, which came into force in 2006, women who are victims of domestic violence are not listed as beneficiaries of legal assistance. The current policies do not pay due attention to gender inequality, while many women cannot legally access their family's financial resources. With these shortcomings, delegates suggested that the legal framework for legal assistance and women's access to justice should be revised and improved as soon as possible. Construction of Hoàng Sa Exhibition House started in the central city of Da Nang on December 7th. Once completed, the facility will serve as a place to display documents and images of Vietnam's reclamation, establishment, and protection of its sovereignty over Hoàng Sa or Paracel archipelago.
The four-story house has a total investment of 40 billion dong, roughly $1.78 million. Located on the street of the same name in Sơn Trà district, the exhibition house will showcase a range of documents in forms of moving pictures on the process of establishing and exercising Vietnam's sovereignty over Hoàng Sa archipelago throughout different periods in history. Among exhibits will be official documents dating back before the Nguyen dynasty about the archipelago's geographical location and natural conditions, and documents from China and Western nations on Vietnam's sovereignty over the islands. Materials that prove Vietnam's sovereignty over Hoàng Sa and documents regarding the Vietnamese state's management of the archipelago will also be displayed at the house.
Visitors to the central coastal city of Da Nang grew 23.4% in the past 11 months, taking the total arrivals to approximately 4.35 million.
The number of foreign and domestic tourists expanded by 30.4% and 21.1% respectively compared to the figures recorded during the same period last year. As such, the local tourism reeled in almost $533.6 million, an annual increase of 29.8%. The revenue met Da Nang's yearly target set for this year. In November, Da Nang International Airport welcomed its 6 million passengers and desired arrival for 2020 as set in its development plan. In a recent blueprint for tourism growth, Da Nang expects to receive 8 million visitors by 2020, including 2 million foreigners. The annual growth rate of arrivals will average 12.6%. The central hub considers tourism among prioritized sectors, targeting to spur such products as high-end beach resorts, shopping, and eco-tours.
And that was the end of our news bulletin. Thank you for your attention. For more information, please log on to our website at www.vietnamplus.vn. Goodbye for now.